Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion. If you're like me, you never thought the day would come when we would have to defend free speech here in the United States of America. It is such a cornerstone of what we expect. Now, we've heard the horror stories coming out of China, coming out of the ex-Soviet Union and other places, Saudi Arabia, where you really have to watch what you say. And if you say the wrong thing, suddenly you disappear, never to be seen by your loved ones again. But here in the United States of America, we have pretty much taken for granted that we have freedom of speech. However, little by little, there has been an erosion, and there is a development presently taking place at the United Nations that does not forebode good for us. This particular article is entitled, from the Jerusalem Post, Defending Free Speech at the United Nations. Freedom of speech is under physical and legal threat, not only from terrorists, but also at the UN. 2 U.S.-based Islamists plan to kill a cartoonist and the editor of Denmark's Jyllands Posten, responsible for publishing cartoons depicting Muhammad in 2005. It was revealed a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, at the UN, the Organization of the Islamic Conference, OIC abbreviated, delivered another blow with a resolution on combating defamation of religion, which was passed by a committee of the UN's General Assembly on the 12th of November. Now, let me make sure you understand. The Islamic Conference, the Organization of Islamic Conference, has for a long time sought to pass resolutions at the United Nations to give it the strength of world law that people should not speak against other religions. Now, that would immediately throw Jesus Christ in jail. He said, "Woe unto you, Pharisees." He talked about the different sects of his day and how wrong they were. I mean, it's a basic freedom. If witchcraft is wrong, I should be able to talk against it. If you think my religion, Pentecostalism, is wrong, you should have the freedom to talk against it. I should have the freedom to defend it. That's the way we find truth, is through the searching and the sharing of ideas. Now, I fully believe as a human being that this type of interaction should be done in a civil, kind way. But even if it's not, if you start outlawing certain types of speech, it's not long until your type of speech will be outlawed. We already see it with the pressure of hate crime legislation just passed in this nation, where we're going to be limited before long on what can be said and what can be done toward certain groups. We are watching the gradual but steady constricting of freedoms that our forefathers held so dear. Well, now this is leapfrogging all the way to the halls of the United Nations. Now, the first thing they've done successfully is to give the UN the aura of world law, because it was designed to be a world governmental system. Now then, anything they pass at the world law level tends to filter down and force all of the levels of law below it. And that's the way they want us to think, because there should not be any law below the United Nations. We should not believe in a world government. The United States of America is sovereign. To be sovereign means there's no authority above you. We're one nation only under God. We're not under the United Nations. We are not under international law. And George Washington, our first president, saw this coming over 200 years ago when he said, beware of entangling alliances. We right now are hearing such things as declarations of interdependence. You cannot have both the Declaration of Independence and the Declaration of Interdependence. Once you sign on to the concept of the Declaration of Interdependence, you're signing on to the belief that we can no longer exercise independence, but that we are bound by humanitarianism to watch out for our fellow man and to exercise interdependence. They're trying to codify it into world law. Why is that important? Because the Bible prophesies during the Great Tribulation, which is just ahead now, that there will no longer be freedom of religion, that people will be forced to believe certain things and to give allegiance to certain belief systems. That's the reason this is important.